Hey everybody, welcome back live at Drew's House, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Hope you're all doing well out there. We got ourselves another music show in our Newburyport studios today. Very excited out of this one. Born in Nairobi, from England, now living in Bradford. What a treat. The great Jonn Savannah.
Hello. How are you? That's a very fine introduction.
Hello. Play on, my friend. Go for it.
All right, I'm going to do the letter by the Box Tops.
Oh, that's a good way to get us started. Take it away.
Okay.
Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. I don't care how much money I gotta spend, got to get back to my baby again. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. Well, she wrote me a letter saying she couldn't live without me no more. Listen, mister, can't you see I gotta get back to my baby once more? Anyway, yeah, I don't care how much money I gotta spend, I got to get back to my baby again. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. Well, she wrote me a letter saying she couldn't live without me no more. Listen, mister, can't you see I gotta get back to my baby once more? Anyway, yeah, give me a ticket for an aeroplane. I ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. My baby just wrote me a letter. My baby just wrote me a letter. Almost in tune.
Hey, Jonn Savannah. Welcome to the show,
Thank
my
you.
friend.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good. Woo, yes, welcome to our beautiful studios.
It's beautiful.
It's so great that you could make the trip here. We have become close friends from our time here over the last month at Seabrook Idol.
Yep.
We're fellow judges. That's how I met you. I've
Fellow
met so many
judges.
people through that show, and you are a fantastic judge, a fantastic musician, but a better guy, might I say. You're just a good guy to hang around. So glad we get to do this. Thanks for coming in.
Sure.
How's life?
Life is very hectic all of a sudden. It was kind of calm after the storm, and then it tends to be feast or famine. So at the moment, it's feastful. It's not a word, but yeah, there's a lot going on.
I know. Yeah, I get I don't know if you hate it or love it, but every time I introduce you to people, I go, this guy's played with Van Morrison, Tina Turner, what are huge names. I mean, Squeeze.
The list is very long, but those are the three main kind of.
What is that? How does that happen? What is that like? As pointed a question as I can ask.
That's a very good question with a very difficult short answer. So the long answer, if I can kind of go down that route, played all my life since I was about 9 or whatever, 8 or 9.
Across the pond, pretty much.
Across the pond in the UK, and went for an audition for a band who had management and a so-called record deal, which of course they had some guy who was looking after them.
Okay.
But they did actually get a record deal. It was under the name of the Sinceros. We did about 3 years, did a couple of albums, new wave stuff. But nothing happened for whatever reason. The songs are great, the albums are still great, they had a good following, but for whatever reason, nothing happened.
Yeah.
That disbanded and did a few auditions here and there, and then someone mentioned Squeeze are looking for a keyboard player, and I'm like, yeah, I really like Squeeze, they're great. So, well, here's where the auditions are happening.
Yeah.
Went and did the audition, which I thought went really well, slotted in really well with the band and locked in musically, and got shortlisted to 2 people, and they said, you know, we're going to go with the other guy. I'm like, oh, well, you know, I tried.
Yeah.
A week later, I get another call from Chris Difford, or the management or whatever, saying, can you come back? The other guy didn't work out. He was a jazz player, apparently a brilliant jazz player, but you know, a lot of jazz players will fill up everything. So in a pop context, it wasn't so good. So I did another audition and then got the job with them.
Wow.
And I was part of the band. I was the 5th member of the band. They kind of, you know, you're in the band. You're not just this kind of session guy. So that was cool. And I did an album with them, Sweet from a Stranger.
Wow. Yeah.
not that I don't think it's their best album, but it had a few great songs on it.
But the
Black
keys
Coffee
were
and Death.
fantastic. Is that what you're
Keyboards
going to
were
say?
amazing. I almost got a sax solo on one of the tracks as well, but
Is that
it's
right?
not quite good enough for sax. It's this close.
How many instruments do you play?
A lot.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah, I play keyboards.
Yeah. Is that the natural? You grow up on the piano and.
Well, I was noodling on guitar and piano, and then I finally got piano lessons off my. I said my parents, I, badgered them get me piano lessons, and the church organist, who was a young lady,
Yeah.
came and gave me piano lessons, and I played harmonica and recorder at school and whatever, and always wanted to play everything. Does that make a noise? Can I try and get a noise out?
Active mind like that, huh?
Yeah. So saxophone, wanted to dabble with that, and bass guitar when I could, and guitar and keyboards, and then it was kind of like tin whistle. Can I play the penny whistle? Can I play that? Yeah. One of the things that stumped me was a concertina. Bought one in Ireland, took it back the next day saying, this is the instrument of the devil.
Oh,
it's
boy.
not possible to play. Basically, you play a note. When you squeeze, it's one note. When you unsqueeze, it's another squeeze. How funny.
Yes.
It's another note.
Yeah.
I said, well, this is impossible. Surely you press that button, it should be one note.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a piano accordion or button accordion. So that went back. And then a couple of years ago, I took up the cello.
Naturally.
Yeah, as you do. And I never thought that would be... I think it was a good thing to do during COVID, because couldn't really do a lot else. But it's the most humbling instrument of them all.
It is, okay.
The bow is... and I had a lesson this morning, and the woman was talking about, well, if you want to play quieter and move the bow quicker, you have to move up from the bridge. I'm like, you mean there's like another... dimension? It's 4-dimensional.
Yeah.
So she was like, yeah, it's 4-dimensional.
Look at you, had a lesson this morning.
I had a lesson this morning.
You know, it would be easy when you play a dozen plus instruments already at a professional level to just say, I'm good.
I'm good now.
Yeah.
I'm questing. I think it's good for musicians to have lessons
Yeah.
in something. I think it's good for everyone to have lessons in something, because it's humbling. If anything is humbling, certainly learning to play the cello. They say horses are humbling, but the cello, I think, will be more humblinger.
Very, I understand. And just to be sure, did you say you badgered your parents for piano lessons?
When I was
Because usually that's the other way around.
No,
Yeah.
when I was a little tiny guy, I used to go to people's homes. If there was a piano, I'd recognize this kind of wood or veneer thing, and I'd go up to it and go, this thing makes music. And I remember playing that. So I must have been tiny. And if I left a white note, like you don't see the white notes, couldn't see the black notes on the piano.
Yeah.
And if I left a note in between and played two and moved them up, it was like, this sounds really good. And people would be like, who's playing the piano? It's like, this sounds great. And there's me harmonizing a major scale without knowing it. And it's actually the start of everything. I'm like, I want to play piano. From 3, and they got me a piano when I was 11.
Wow.
I'd kill them. But, finally it was the cheapest... I was going to swear, but I'm not. Awfulest piano, most awful piano, out of tune thing for about $10.
Yeah.
And but I wouldn't get off it.
Made it work?
Constantly, and they're like, the weird thing is with most kids, it's like, get in and go practice. For me, it was like the only thing probably that would get me off it was, your dinner's ready. Can we get some food? So I'd go and do that. But yeah, I played 3 and 4 hours a day.
No kidding.
So. Got good quick. So
Yeah.
the whole kind of leading up to doing that, and then doing the squeeze thing, and then when that kind of they decided at the peak of their popularity to disband, which was a really bad mistake.
Yeah.
We'd just done Madison Square Garden, Nassau Coliseum, some of these enormous places, and the promoter was saying, come back 3 times, 4 times a year.
Yeah.
We can do this and do better. And they said, we're going to break the band up.
I mean, not the first band to do that.
No, a
But-
real commercial suicide. Well, suicide all around. And then
Was it inner conflict or different directions or what?
I think, they'd been busting a gut, working and touring and doing albums and TVs and whatever, non-stop. They worked hard. There weren't many days off.
Yeah.
And I think there were a lot of kind of shifts in the band's personnel.
Yeah.
And they finally got to the point, Glenn and Chris said, look, we're not happy with the way things are going. We have problems, but we want the band to... We can't keep doing this the way it is, so we're going to do a different and Tilbrook thing.
Yeah.
And they took me aside saying, we want you involved in that in a couple of months, which ended up being 6 months. And they said, we're going to do a soul act. I said, this is great. And they had, they called out, in between that time, I actually put a record out in, that's how old I am. Put a track out,
plenty of them around here.
Put a record out in Germany,
Yeah.
Which got to number 3, sold 500,000 copies, which was a bit of a shock.
Wow.
So that was a kind of burgeoning career over in Europe, which was weird. I could go into my local supermarket as ordinary me and then go over there and it'd be like, fan clubs. There's
no kidding.
One funny little story then with a TV show that we did, and I was sitting in the lobby of the hotel waiting to go on to the bus or whatever it is for the TV show, and Carlos Santana was sitting there as well. I'm like,
wow.
Carlos Santana. So we kind of leave, and he's obviously, I said, go ahead. So you're Carlos Santana, and I'm not. Go ahead. And there were all these kids outside, bunch, sort of, I don't know, 40 or 50 kids all sitting there with, they didn't have cell phones then, but what do they have? Sticks and hoops.
Sure, yeah.
So, and he went out thinking this was his audience, and he does all this kind of stuff. And I walk out behind him, and they all flock to me because I've just dropped a big hit, and I'm like,
you upstaged Carlos Santana.
Carlos Santana, which I'm sorry, Carlos, if you ever get to see this.
He's a huge fan of the show, so yeah.
He's never off his turntable. That was a giant hit, which no one could.
So that was in some Germany.
Germany, Austria, Switzerland. It was just short of 500,000.
Wow,
seller.
Good for you, man. You're like the most interesting man in the world.
I have a lot of little avenues of all kinds of stuff, and I juggle. So that was kind of unexpected and did way better than anyone thought it would. And then the Squeeze guys said, we're going to start this soul band. I did a day, and for me, it wasn't a soul band at all. They'd taken the more complicated parts of Squeeze and developed a whole thing around that. The songs were super complicated. I think there were probably drugs and alcohol involved at the time that maybe colored their judgment a little bit. And the next day I went in and I said, even though there's Pino Palladino playing bass in the band, I said, I can't put my hand on my heart and say I can do this. It was just not for me.
Yeah.
So
it must be a tough conversation to have with yourself, though, because this is the kind of the group that's led you into Madison Square Garden. And
exactly. Exactly. But in some ways it was the right move because they shot themselves in the foot. They didn't do Madison Square Garden for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I think they had a pretty rough time. The Difford and Tilbrook thing didn't do much. And then they resurrected Squeeze, and I think they even got Jules Holland back in. And I got called again to do another stint with them, which was, I think, the Play album. It's a great album, so there's some great songs there. Did some touring, and then that kind of fell apart again. A third time, they were doing the Ridiculous album, the album called Ridiculous.
Yep.
And I got a call I was working with Glenn. We were doing songwriting, that's right, and he turned up to do part of the songwriting week that I was involved in, and he was like, hey, do you want to come and do some work on the new album? So I said, yeah, I worked on the album a little bit, played some piano, did some backing vocals for him, and then he said, do you want to do some touring? I'm like, sure. So that was my third stint with Squeeze, and at that point, it was, I don't know if I can play these songs ever again.
Yeah.
It's just enough.
Draining.
I'm not very good at the repetitive thing. I like it to be, more spontaneous. And then after that, after the kind of German thing happened a little bit and did what it was going to do, I got a call from someone else who said, hey, Tina Turner's auditioning.
Unbelievable.
I said, really? So I turned up thinking, this is a real long shot. And for whatever reason, same thing. I just turned up and played, and I got the gig.
Do you play when you audition for Tina Turner? Do you play with Tina Turner?
Oh yeah,
like right in the audition.
The whole band were there, and she's there with
So it's her pick.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think she probably asked the rest of the band, "What do you think?" and everything. But it felt very comfortable.
Yeah, if they all say we hate him, she's probably not going to go.
She's probably not going to be too happy. But it worked, and she said, "You got the gig," and I was
wow,
really. I did 6 months. It was the opposite of what I'd expected. Very high level. The Cristal champagne and the private jet.
That was all there,
and everything. It was all happening. And everything was extreme, but for me, every single night was identical. God rest her soul, she was completely OCD about having things the same every single night.
Oh,
down to
same set list, same everything. Yeah.
Same set list. She at one point said, "I'd like you to learn this solo from a gig 7 years ago." And I only had 2 solos, and that's the part that I enjoy is improvising live.
Do your own thing a little bit. Yeah.
Not allowed to do your own thing. Do her thing. And I remember putting the cassette on. That's how long ago it was. 1987. My God.
Wow.
And listening to it, and I called up a room and I said, "Yo, Tina," because I called her Tina.
Yeah.
"Hello, Mrs. Turner." So it was, I said, "I think you gave me the wrong cassette. This is from this tour we've been doing now." She said, "No, that's from 7 years ago." I said, "No, but it's the same first 3 songs, and you're saying the same things in between the numbers. Are you ready for me? Well, I'm ready for you." She said, "That's what I always say in between numbers." So all the time, same. Even the things she says in between numbers were identical.
I didn't quite realize that was the story with her.
Yeah, it was. You'd think it was the opposite. You'd think she was wild and kind of improvisational and crazy, but she was very rigid of things having to be the way that they should be. After one gig, I think it was probably after a couple of months of doing, a lot of shows, she said, "All right, everyone back on stage after the gig." I'm like, "What?" We started running the set again. And about an hour and 10 minutes in, I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? Right there, there's an extra bass drum beat. It threw me off my dancing. Okay. Jack Bruno, the drummer, was like, "Okay, I won't put that extra drum beat in then."
Wow.
One bass drum beat. So
he knew he had done it.
Only when she kind of pointed it out. She thought he was spicing things up a little bit, giving it a bit more of a kick. She's like, no. Throws me off. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's 1,000 stories about that 6 months. After 6 months, couldn't do it anymore.
It took a little bit of the joy out of the playing for you.
I remember saying to a couple of guys in the band, I don't think I can do much more after the end of the European stint, and then.
Yeah. I would imagine they're probably all like, "Yeah, no, we get it." 'Cause they're probably feeling the same thing, right?
Some of them, yes.
Yeah.
Most people I talk to are like, "How the hell are we going to keep doing this?" But with the big check at the end of the week, end of the month or whatever, a lot of people are like, "I know what side my bread's buttered." And for me, it was like, I don't really care. I can't do it. It's going to make me ill.
Yeah.
So, and then the opposite end of that is the Van Morrison thing, where if you do the same thing twice, you're out.
I was going to say, he's like notoriously the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't surprise me. Don't do what you did last night, because I've heard it. I want something new all the time. So the complete antithesis of everything to do with the Tina Turner thing. It was just, what is this? And that was probably the strangest thing. No rehearsal. I was given once again a couple of cassettes of a gig, and said, do what you can. I'm like, every song sounds the same.
Yeah.
They're all G, C, and D. Everything's the same. This is crazy. And after a couple of weeks, he said, "Well, we got a gig in Birmingham, in the north of England, come up and play." I'm like, I don't really, I'm not sure. He said, "No, you'll be fine. And I get on stage, and he said, "Don't even worry if you don't even get through the sound check. Sometimes he doesn't like the look of someone. You won't say anything, but you won't be included in the gig, let alone."
So he's that tough. Yeah.
Once James Brown passed, he's definitely the hardest man to work for in show business.
Because it's so interesting. I've heard stories about him. I remember reading something on him where he actually had like stage fright. He didn't actually love performing. It was he had to overcome some stuff, at least early in his career.
Yeah.
Which I think anybody can understand that. But I've definitely heard those stories. I mean, I went to a show once in Boston here, and I remember the people I was with like waiting to hear Into the Mystic, and I didn't have the heart to tell them that he had already played Into the Mystic, just not the way that they.
There it was. Look, it's over there. It's got fleeting.
Yes.
And the Into the Mystic story. We played in Petaluma.
Yeah.
The Mystic Theatre.
Yeah.
He would not play Into the Mystic.
No way.
All night. Into the Mystic. Play Into the Mystic.
Oh yeah, that's enough to throw it away, huh?
No, he won't do what people think he should. He doesn't kowtow to anyone. I mean, he's a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
Of the worst. First order. But
is there a sweet side? Is there like a? And you're like, not really. I knew you were going to ask me that.
This is being recorded on film. A sweet side in his writing.
No, I kind of mean personally.
As a person,
I know there's a sweet side in his writing. I love a million of those songs.
Yeah, I didn't really see a sweet side. He can be funny. Yeah. And he enjoys humor, which is probably why I was kept on board, because I made him laugh. Yeah. Not with my playing. He definitely, you can see a switch being flicked. Yeah. When something's not going the way he thinks it should or whatever, he can suddenly go from charming and, I wouldn't say engaging, but he's less ornery some of the time.
And you must feel good to make him laugh. That must be like, whoo, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
if that misses, it can be
Yeah, I think I've seen people try it and fail, and he's like, "That's not funny. That's not funny." He's brutal.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've always been a bit of a clown. So it's at my own expense. I'll do something that most people would stop short of and say, "Yeah, I'll look like a twit." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's funny. I don't care."
Right.
Do it anyway. So he would like that.
You're all the most accomplished at what you do. It's all these professionals, the most pros up there. But that's still that kind of front man must make even the biggest pro just a little bit nervous up there. You know?
Yeah.
Like. You don't piss off Van, and even if you're playing something correctly, like it still might piss him off. That's a hard thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there was I never remember his name. Let's call him a very famous session guitarist from the 60s. He's on loads and loads. He's an English guy, loads and loads of tracks. He passed away after a while ago. But he had a great reputation. He played, you name a bunch of hits out in the 60s, he was in the pit band playing the guitar in it and whatever. I've got his name, Big Jim Sullivan.
Okay, yeah.
And very accomplished. He was brought onto the gig, and he was at pains to tell us he'd just written this thesis for a university or whatever on the guitar, and theoretical this and musical that, whatever. And he actually had a copy of it. He said, "Yeah, if you want to learn anything, this is what it's like." So it was kind of not pompous as such, but he was very happy with his achievement and everything. And he was using a little kind of guitar synthesizer at the time, and a bunch of pedals and whatever, so it could sound like vibes, it could sound like a horn or whatever else instead of a guitar. So I remember first gig, he was Van will make you solo all the time, all night. Do a solo, he'll point, do a solo, you play a solo, right? And you better come up with something, otherwise he's like, get him, mate. And he pointed to Big Jim and said, all right, let's do a solo. So there was this weird kind of horn sound. I mean, proper jazz playing and very kind of accomplished and everything. And I could, Van turned around, I could see him look at me like, "What's that? What is it?" I thought he was a guitar player. So, and he, played something with vibes and everything. So, and it was all very professional and very musical, but Van was not impressed. Wow. So I think the next day, he was sitting there, Big Jim was sitting there and ready to go on the bus, and the tour manager came over and said, "Yeah, you're not on anymore." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, you're done.
Oh my goodness.
He said, "What are you talking about?" So, and we'd all been given some kind of schedule of the gigs coming up, some portfolio or whatever. And I just remember seeing him in the taxi leaving. "Oh, I won't be needing that then," and chucking this thing out the window.
Oh my God.
Giving his marching orders. So someone who definitely would be like, "I'm now working with Van Morrison, and it's commensurate with my ability and everything." "No, you're out." And he will have people in the band who are dreadful players to mess with the minds of the other good players in the band. So I'd be in there going, "What? This guy he can't play. He's terrible. And he's drunk or drugged or something. He's really not very good at all." And you could see everyone is tense. So why did he get this guy? And so it changes the vibe of everyone playing, and it makes them play differently. So Van's like, "Yeah, that's different." He likes different and experimentation. I think the band he's had for the past while, they're a little bit more like a pub band. They're a little bit more kind of, there's no flash, there's no incredible musicianship from what I can see. They're very much kind of, doing what he wants.
And then Van whips out a saxophone.
Yeah, for me, a lot of people will ask, well, is he as great an instrumentalist as he is a writer? And I think he's... The most authentic thing is him playing harmonica, blues harmonica.
Yes.
It's really good. It sounds really good. When he plays guitar, it's a little bit like John Lee Hooker. He's got that kind of, that sort of...
Yes, yeah.
He can do all that stuff, and it sounds kind of authentic. I've not heard him play the piano, but he plays the piano. He plays the drums. I've not heard him do that.
Yeah.
But he when he's playing saxophone, for me, it's a little... how can I say this? Crap.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a great... he was doing the Montreux Jazz Festival. He was asked to do that, and I think there's a video of this somewhere because the cameraman followed.
Sure, there is Monterey. Yeah.
I've not seen it, but yeah. So Montreux. Did I say Montreux? Montreux Festival.
Okay.
Montreux Festival in Europe.
Okay.
The Jazz Festival.
Yep.
So he comes on stage. He says, "Okay, this is a jazz festival." So he's going to play jazz.
Sure.
And he comes out on stage and he's playing his saxophone. And these are all hardened jazz fans in the audience, and they're used to Michael Brecker and, you know, John Coltrane and whatever else. And Van ain't that. He's a bit of a kind of toot-toot sort of thing. He plays sax about as well as I do. So you're not watching this, are you, Van? I know you'll come.
He's another big fan. I told you.
Big fan. He's going to come and find me in the weeds in the Meadowlands. So he came out and played, and people are like, "Sing some songs," and he's like, "No, it's a jazz festival." So he does like 2 or 3 songs, just playing sax with him soloing all the way through. And getting booed, everyone shouting, and suddenly you can see the switch is flicked, and he's off, shouting and screaming, "Rush! I'm not doing this anymore. These people don't know what they're talking about." Apparently, it's all on camera. I've still not seen it, so that would be one. Yeah, so he's the problem with the Van story is if you start, it's months before you stop. Every 10 minutes, there'll be something that happens. If you watch it, you go, I saw that. I actually saw that.
Yikes.
When you hear Van Morrison stories, people are like, they must be making them up.
Yeah, man. I mean,
unusual.
The songs are. He's one of my favorite songwriters, though. He has. I mean, just beautiful songs. So many of my favorite songs are his. But that's just to hear those other sides of the story. It's fascinating. Yeah. Prince was like notoriously hard, maybe with a softer side, but like he was hard on the band.
Well, he was just incredibly demanding because he knew what he needed. So if you're going to be in my band, you're going to work hard. I mean,
don't be late.
Well,
you're fine.
You're basically in the band 24/7. He will do the gig, then there'll be the after party show.
Yeah,
Prince.
Yeah.
And then after that, he might say, "All right, we're all going to the studio," and they'll be just jamming and working on tracks until 6 in the morning. The band are just completely wiped, and he'll do it the next day. The next day, he had a couple of hours of sleep a night. He was fired up.
Did you ever
meet? Little, so
did you meet him?
I did have him walk past. He was a good friend of mine. Was his right hand woman.
Yep.
A girl I met on tour with Squeeze, who I got friendly with.
Not Sheila. Is that Sheila?
No. This is someone who actually worked for him.
Oh,
she would organise his diary and his girlfriends and whatever else. And she said, if you're ever in Minneapolis, just let me know and then come and see Paisley Park. I said, we're going to Minneapolis on this Squeeze tour. So I get a call. She says, be in the lobby of your hotel at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I remember it was about 18 inches of snow. And I'm sitting in the lobby with the guys from Squeeze, and this big white stretch limo pulls up outside, and this very tall black guy with a chauffeur cap on, comes out and walks in and says, I was Don Snow at the time. I changed my name from Don Snow to John Savannah, by the way. So back then I was Don Snow, and he says, Mr. Snow available? I'm like, yeah. And the guys in the band are like, what's this? I said, I'm just going to Paisley Park, They're like, what?
Wow.
So anyway, he says, welcome, come, sat in the car, and we go to Chanhassen, I think is where his place was. And she gave me a full tour of the whole of Paisley Park, including Prince's kind of inner sanctum where he entertains. But he entertains. That nobody goes in, no one goes in there apart from her and him. And she said, well, you can come in and have a look. It's all Paisley. The whole thing is Paisley patterns and Paisley cushions, and you hit a button and all of the shears come down and everything, black the room out, and there's special lights and everything. Showed me all the studios, showed me the huge film studio that he built. And then she said, do you want to see the tape room? And I'm like, yeah. So we go down down to a lower level, and there in the corner is the bike that he used in Purple Rain, the actual bike. I said, take a picture of me on it. So I sit on the bike, and the picture's blurred. I do have a picture of me on Prince's bike, but it's a little blurred. I'm very annoyed. I know there's technology now that will probably un-Gaussian blur or whatever. And then she said, all right, come and see the tape room. And I've always been a big fan of his. From the first album, she pulled out the master tape, the 2-inch master tape of the first album, and it's got, she said, look what he did. He had felt pens or whatever, marker pens, and he embroidered the whole of the tape box with all these curlicues and patterns and, signs and symbols and whatever. And then she said, now look at the latest one that's in here. Nothing on it at all. So this was the thing he used to do. And I'm looking at this room thinking, hold on a minute, this room is huge. Like a kind of, FBI building or whatever, the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And there's tapes and tapes and tapes and tapes and corridors and corridors. I'm like, you're kidding. She said he's got 100 albums worth of stuff right now.
Which we learned after he died. Yeah.
She said he could release material for the next 100 years. It's
Unbelievable.
Like, so he's just constantly, whether all of it will be good, but he was so prolific.
Oh.
So that was a real treat, and then drive back. Yeah, I was at Paisley Park.
Good Prince story.
I have a lot of stories.
John Savannah in the house. When you writing the book?
I have actually written a whole chunk, and then I stopped about 30 years
We haven't
ago.
even talked about that. I just thought I'd throw it out there, but that's funny that you actually have an answer to that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I kind of revisited that, and I thought, this is badly written, and
Well, it
really, I
seems
said that.
the stories are still coming. Maybe you...
Yeah, it's also a question of how many stories can you actually tell.
True.
Unless everybody's dead and the bodies are buried, then it's like, yeah.
I mean, it is as big of a world. It is the rock star world. It's also small in ways, though, right? Everybody kind of knows each other. I mean, I could probably name almost anyone, and you have some sort of connection. It's far it's worked,
Yeah, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's that. It is. It's the weird thing for me is when Facebook is weird when you see a whole bunch of musicians and I don't know any of them. I never crossed paths with any of them. They work with this band, that band. I never saw any of them, never met any of them. And yet most people, it's like, you were in that. Oh, I remember seeing you in that band, and we crossed paths there, or we bumped into that. Oh, I remember you from whatever. So, it's tiny in a way.
No kidding. Oh.
Word spreads fast.
It sure does. John Savannah, our guest here, going through some great stories here live at Drew's House Joppa Afternoon Drive. Thank you to Maeve Power producing the show, the boss Sarah Hayden, Ryan Rothberg, Maya Gassman in the house. They're working hard this week. We're throwing some extra projects on them, so I appreciate all the good work from our small but mighty team here in Newburyport as they do the hard work and I do the easy stuff here, just talking to people and listening to music. You want to play another one over here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got the guitar, why not, right?
Why not? It's a bit of an Irish accent you did there, now, is it? With the Van Morrison.
Oh, did it slip in? Yeah.
It slept in.
I don't think I have much of a Boston one.
There is a little Boston.
Oh, you hear a little?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a couple of words where it crops up here and there.
Okay. I guess I've been told that before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the obvious Boston. It's not the Boston.
You know, it's funny. You get when you're trained in like college to come into the radio world, they try to work that out of you, right?
Yeah.
And now, I'm 37 now.
Yeah.
You
young thing. You.
15 years out of when are you in college? I can't remember. But once you get out of there, it's like now it's like cool to have the accents. Yeah. Now they're looking for that like not that I fake it anymore. I've just I don't think about it. I just talk. But it's like it's I noticed they go after the people with the Boston accents.
Yeah. Well, it's become so bland. Everything's so homogenized. And obviously having an English accent over here. I love your accent. It's like, well, I'm just kind of talking. But I thought it would have gone by now, 20 years or something, and I think the cadence of your voice changes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Otherwise, people don't. If I just speak in an English accent, people don't understand what I'm saying. Excuse me.
Yeah,
You kind of move things around, but yeah.
It is the best career advice I ever got. Was I remember trying to get on the radio, and I wasn't. I guess I was faking it. Like I wasn't intentionally doing it, but I was trying to find my radio voice, and it was that kind of maybe make it deeper or whatever I was doing at the time. Yeah. And I remember a new boss had come in and said like, your thing is like people like you and your authenticity, but you have to be you. Yeah. Like don't try to be the old time radio guy or deeper voice or any of that. And I realized for my thing was just be normal and just get your energy up. Energy was always the thing for me. Yeah. Energy and just talk.
Being yourself, being authentic. I mean, with this thing we've been doing with the judges and everything, I was told to give a shout out to the judges. Hi, judges. It's Karen, it's Justin, it's Mike, and us.
Justin Gage, Karen Ness, and Benny. Who else has been up there? Mike Caputo.
Joey Profumo.
Joey Pafumi.
Pafumi.
Yep, great drummer.
Profumo. That was something of a scandal in the 60s in England.
Good man there. Who has Donald Forrester's been up there. God, can I get them all? Let's see. Francois Samard, of course, running the things. The MC is great. Jay Pasaris. I know you love him.
Yeah.
This has been a really fun January thing. I got to meet you. That's the top of my list for this.
Thank you.
But it really is a cool thing they've done. We'll see who takes the thing home. But
it's going to be.
We'll play one more. We'll play one, and then we'll come back on the other side here.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
Steve Earle song called "Someday."
I love me some Steve Earle.
And Sean Colvin did this, which is the first time I heard it, but I'm doing a combination of Steve Earle and Sean Colvin. And I didn't realize she changed the lyrics because the original lyric in the second verse is, my brother went to college because he plays football. And she says, but me, I never even got through high school at all. And he says something like, I didn't play because I was a little bit small. Oh. So I think that she just changed the lyric a little bit so that it fitted her a little bit more. But then I'm thinking, what's the other thing that's in this? Yes, it says, they asked me, how far into Memphis, boy? And where's the nearest beer? So when she sings that, she says, how far into Memphis, boy? And so you either go hard or, another.
And
all the way.
And this is how the John Savannah version comes out. Here we go.
Yeah, so this is going to be slightly different. Let's see if I can do this without
Live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. John Savannah, take it away, my friend.
Okay. There ain't a lot that you can do in this town. Just drive down to the lake and then you turn back around. Go to school and you learn to read and write, so you can walk into the county bank, sign away your life. Well, I work at the filling station on the interstate, pumping gasoline and counting out-of-state plates. They ask me how far into Memphis, boy, and where's the nearest beer? They don't even know that there's a town around here. Someday I'm finally gonna let go. I know there's a better way. I wanna know what's over that rainbow. I'm gonna get out of here someday. Now my brother went to college 'cause he plays football, but me, I never got through high school at all. Got me a 67 Chevy, long, sleek and black. Someday I'll put her on the interstate and never look back. Someday I'm finally gonna let go. I know there's a better way. I wanna know what's over that rainbow. I'm gonna get out of here someday. I'm gonna get out of here someday. Someday. Thank you.
John Savannah, very nice. Beautiful rendition right there.
Thank you.
Nicely done. You came, I don't know when the last time you played guitar was, but you came in and you go, yeah, I haven't really played in a while, but it seemed like a good thing to do on your show.
Well, I haven't played and sung by myself.
Yeah.
In this setting, I have been playing and singing for the old folks.
The old folks.
In the care homes.
Oh.
So I think it's a lovely thing to do, and it was through my fiancée Leslie who suggested. She's a speech pathologist, and she said, "Look, you should come and play for them. They'd love it." I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
You want me to do a what?" She said, "Yeah, these people have very little going on, and they're sitting there comatose a lot of the time, playing bingo or whatever."
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, "All right, okay." I did it in the last place I was living. I don't even want to mention the state.
Oh.
In New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
And turned up and played, and I thought, this is the strangest thing. There's people in wheelchairs and kind of drooling and whatever, and what's the point? And it really hit me that after I started playing, old Elvis songs or Beatles songs or whatever, that they started coming alive. and I suddenly got this feeling of, oh my God, I'm making a real difference here.
Yeah.
I know it sounds very altruistic, but
No, it's very sweet.
I've done a lot of it now. I'm now doing a lot for people. I did a couple Monday.
Yeah. Now you're doing it for you.
Yeah, it's really kind of, it's this incredible thing to see someone who doesn't really have a lot going on, and they're in their dotage now and just sitting around, coming alive and singing and clapping, and then the nurse is coming up saying that person hasn't spoken for months, and they go, oh, so when are you coming back? I'm like, what do you mean he hasn't spoken? He's a completely kind of regular guy. No, he's full on Alzheimer's, full on dementia. He doesn't even speak. So you kind of brought him back, like that film Awakening.
Yeah.
So it's very powerful. So I have been doing that, which is why I need some calluses.
You've been doing a good amount of that, yeah?
Yeah, more than I expected. So
Really?
it's 4 or 5, 6 times a month or something.
Wow, good for you, man.
Yeah, it's more, as I say, way more rewarding than I would expect, because you start getting to know these older people, and I think the older you get, the more you think that'll be me. Well,
Yeah.
it's not me already.
Yeah.
So I have been playing, but this kind of, actually playing things that I like, and not just because that's a song that
Yes.
Hey, here's a Chris Christopherson song.
Right.
Help me make it through the night. Sing along. This is a little.
My dad had a band here for like 30 years, and he's a local singer, and he's been doing that too. And he tells me it's very rewarding.
Yeah. Hugely.
Nice.
So
It's a
that's
cool thing
nice.
to. It was more pressure in Madison Square Garden, or this show? Would you say?
Oh my goodness! This show here today.
Yeah.
It's all pressure is pressure. This show is very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I have to get this right. Because, the Madison Square Garden, we were petrified. All the band were petrified.
Is that true?
Yeah. There's something about. I said just before the gig, we were all very hyped up about it. Wow,
Yeah.
we sold it out in like 3 hours. This is crazy. The band, the audience of full-on Squeeze fans and everything. And I said, I'm going to get a couple of pictures from the stage. I remember taking one picture, a second picture, and then running off going, there's something about the audience. It just 19,000 people, but they all seem to be up a wall.
Then they don't. It's not like that balcony like a lot of arenas. It's all just one.
It just seems to go like that, and it was. I think obviously when people say, playing Madison Square Garden,
the world's most famous arena.
The world's most famous, like the Royal Albert Hall. So, I'd never heard the band play through the set so quickly.
Just got nerves.
And possibly some kind of marching powder that they were using, which I do not subscribe to and never have. But there was definitely a little. You guys, you seem a little kind of hepped up.
Yeah.
So the set seemed to go through in about 10 minutes. And I'm like, are we done? And everyone was petrified. So I think we did well, but it's the nerves that happen with some gigs, and then other gigs. I got a call from a friend of mine, Tessa Niles, who's a backing singer she was with David Bowie, Eric Clapton. She's the top English backing singer at the time. And she said, do you want to do some backing vocals? I said, I've never done backing vocals live. I've always played keyboards or guitar and sang, but just standing there doing BVs. And she said, yeah, it's a show for Nelson Mandela to help, shed a light on his plight and try and get him out of jail and everything. I said, sure, it'd be great. So, it's a big thing, charity thing. I said, yeah, it'd be great. So I had no idea. I turn up, and she said, yeah, we're doing the Soul set. So we do a little rehearsal. She said it's at Wembley Arena, so that's 80,000 people.
Oh my goodness,
right? Yeah. And I said, oh, who are we working with? Well, I've got Al Green first. Sorry, I'm going to be singing BVs for Al Green. Yeah, Al Green, Jonathan Butler, Ashford and Simpson, Joe Cocker, Natalie Cole. I'm like, dude, are you kidding? So I walk in for the rehearsal, and I'm looking around going, that's David Sanborn on saxophone. That's Marcus Miller playing bass. All the top New York kind of session guys. Who's the drummer? I know that. I know these people. These are the top echelon players. Anyway, so there were 6 of us, Tessa and me and Lance and another couple of people or whatever. That sounds like 5 and one other person. 5 or 6 of us. And I'd never done a backing vocal gig live in my life.
Yeah.
Get on stage at Wembley Stadium, not Wembley Arena, which is like 8,000 or something. So I'm out.
Good time to try it out, yeah.
Yeah, a big sea of people, and I had 0 nerves. I don't know why.
Really?
It was just like, this is kind of a good reason to do this. A nice bunch of people, and I was like, let's see how this video of me, film of me, just kind of having a good time and playing.
Fascinating.
What they didn't say was, so my first backing vocal gig was actually in front of 600 million people. 600 million.
Yeah, watching at home.
Watching it, and if I'd known that, I might have been a little more circumspect about it.
Yeah, because I mean, you hear people talk about how it doesn't really matter if you're in a club of 50 people or, but it all kind of looks the same eventually, but not really true. And
It varies.
It matters.
It varies. I've been more nervous in front of a small, I sounded like Sean Connery, a small audience.
Yeah.
Where you can actually see the white of everybody's eyes all the time. It can be really. This is nerve-wracking. This kind of. There's nowhere to hide.
I've got that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
People say it's never, this is, I don't do this all the time,
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, I like it because obviously I love the sound of my own voice chatting, as you can tell. But there's something very kind of exposed about doing stuff. So, yeah. It's nerve-wracking.
Great stories here with Jonn Savannah. Final couple minutes with Jonn. He's been nice enough to come on the show, and we have a busy. He's a busy man, so we appreciate it very much. I'm going to end with this one. Who is the nicest man in rock and roll?
The nicest man in rock.
We talked a lot about some of the hard guys out there, but
Who are the nicest men in rock and roll?
Yeah.
That's a really tough question. I didn't actually talk to David Bowie, but I did kind of meet him very briefly. He seemed very down to earth and very unpompous.
guy I used to work with, WBZ, used to have the overnight show in Boston.
Yeah.
Big music guy, used to work for WBCN, which is the big music station that kind of was a grassroots thing and became a really big deal.
Yeah.
Great story if you want to watch a cool documentary. But he ended up having the WBZ late night show, which was talk after PCN shut down. But he told the story one night, and this is before my time, but I was listening, driving into work and going, you've got to be kidding me. David Bowie had become not even living in Boston, but had become a big fan, and he would tune in to WBCN.
Really?
And he would listen to this guy, Bradley J., always talk about him.
Yeah.
So one night, Bradley gets a call. He's planning on going to see Bowie. It's like a 3-night stand at the Boston Garden. He goes, is it Bradley J.? Yes, it's David Bowie. Hello. I'm a big fan. He goes, oh, I know. I'm a big fan of yours. He goes, oh, this can't be real. And David Bowie goes, I got a couple shows coming up in Boston. I'm aware. Thank you. I would love for you to introduce me on stage. And if you can just imagine,
losing it.
I remember I was working with him the night that Bowie died in Boston, the old Soldiers Field Road studios in Boston. And Bradley was on the air. And it makes sense, but I would have thought his, father or something passed away. He was devastated. Sure. A devastated man trying to do 4 hours of radio.
Not easy at all.
Yeah, thank goodness for phone calls and everything, because he helped him get through it, I think. But yeah, he said the same thing.
He definitely seemed. He wasn't ordinary. He wasn't normal. He was definitely off to one side in so many ways, and obviously massive cocaine use and whatever. Yeah. So he wasn't a regular guy, but he never seemed to me like he was. I'm David Bowie and you're not. If he's on the camera or whatever on stage. But just hanging around, I was like, I didn't even realize he was in the room. Yeah. And it's like, double take, there's Dave. Oh, Vince Gill, Michael McDonald.
Good ones.
There's two guys who no airs and graces at all.
Vince Gill, you mean the guitar player for the Eagles? Is that
the guitar player for the Eagles, the spectacular singing.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, very kind of, I've met him a couple of times, very down to earth, very unassuming. Tommy Emmanuel, the guitar player, he was in the support band on the Tina Turner tour, and I got to hang with him a little bit. And he's just fun, ridiculously talented acoustic guitar player generally, but now acknowledged as kind of one of the world's best and everything, but very kind of, hey mate, how you doing? All right. Yeah. No sort of, I'm Tommy Emmanuel and you're not. Wow. And I like that because I don't really have this public persona that's that much different from my private persona, really.
Except I want to see you in Germany.
Yeah, well, there are videos. There are videos on YouTube. If you look at the name of the catch,
I could see it.
5 years.
John says that's when I change into.
This is when I become a butterfly. Shed my.
This has been a pleasure, man. As I knew it would be. Thank you so much for taking some time. It's been a pleasure to meet you over the last month here and doing the Seabrook Idol. You're a fantastic judge as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I am Simon Cowell.
He is not. He's much nicer than Simon Cowell.
A little bit nicer.
And again, thank you to our team here. What's the best career advice you ever received? I'd like to add on that one. A lot of kids watch this show.
Don't go into the music business. That was all the time when I was growing up. Do not go into the music industry, and I ignored them all and did very well. Now, the industry's tough. It's tougher than it ever was. So,
it is
best career advice: be yourself.
Good one. Very good. John, Savannah, can you play us out with a little something as I say thank you to
I'll
Maeve?
noodle.
Yeah, no, just have some fun. Maeve Power, thank you so much. Sarah Hayden, Maya Gassman, Ryan Rothberg, we appreciate you guys. Our small but mighty team here in Newburyport. We love you. Thank you very much. John Savannah, first time on the show. Great guy, great stories, great player. We love you, John. Thank you. Live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. We'll see you next time.